mu'minat, brothers and sisters, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon you all. Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam al-Muttaqeen, reminds us of the necessary qualities to achieve taqwa, to be of those who are ahlut taqwa, to be of those who are muttaqeen. Purpose of fasting, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, to gain God consciousness. And we want to truly abstain and refrain from sins. And we want to always remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at all times. أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنُّ الْقُلُوبِ. And we want to also be careful and remind ourselves, أَلَمْ يَعْلَمْ بِأَنَّ اللَّهَ يَرَى. And we want to always remind ourselves that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is bearing witness. The angels are bearing witness upon our actions and others. So always be vigilant in our ways to excel in seeking nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in gaining the pleasure, the rida of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sermon 193 of Nahjul Balagha. And that famous sermon, Amir al-Mu'mineen converses with Hammam. Hammam asks Amir al-Mu'mineen about the signs and characteristics of someone who wishes to have taqwa. What's needed for me to excel in my taqwa? Imam mentions they talk to the point. That when they speak, they talk precisely, sharply, concisely, to the point. They're direct. Number two, he mentions what? He mentions that when they dress, libas, their malbas, their libas is moderate. Their attire is modest clothing. They wear that clothing which is what? Of tawadu. That clothing which is of humility, humbleness, aware of what we dress, aware of how we speak and talk. Then he says, continuing in this sermon, the sermon of the muttaqeen, he says, the sign, a characteristic of someone who has taqwa is وَمَشْيُهُمْ التَّوَاضُعُ. That a person who has taqwa, not only is when they speak, they show the qualities of someone who has taqwa. Not only in their clothing and their dress, signs of ahlut taqwa, but also in the way they walk. They walk. The 2 feet that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed upon us, has blessed us with, to walk, to run, to jog, to move from one place to another. Imam says that a person of taqwa, when they walk with tawadu'. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Furqan, the last verses of Surah Al-Furqan, it's truly beautiful for us to understand the quality signs of someone who is a true abd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is a true servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The last verses of Surah Al-Furqan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the great quality acts of a true abd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَعِبَادُ الرَّحْمَنِ. Remember, every single day in our salah, our 5 prayers, when we recite adhan, when we recite iqamah, and when we testify, recite the shahada, what do we say? Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Then what do we say? وَأَشْهَدُ أَنَّ مُحَمَّدًا عَبْدُهُ وَرَسُولُهُ. That our Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, he was first and foremost an abd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a true servant, a true one who had the great qualities of an abd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then we mention وَرَسُولُهُ, and he was also the messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Furqan says وَعِبَادُ الرَّحْمَنِ, the true quality servants of the Rahman, of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who are they? What's their quality acts? What's their signs and characteristics? He mentions. The first sign he mentions, الَّذِينَ يَمْشُونَ عَلَى الْأَرْضِ هَوْنًا. الَّذِينَ يَمْشُونَ عَلَى الْأَرْضِ هَوْنًا. They are the ones who, when they walk, the true servant of God, the true muttaqi, is the one who walks with humility, with humbleness. When he walks with a moderate pace. He walks neglecting any signs or rejecting any thoughts of arrogance and pride within him. There were times people in Jahiliyyah, or sometimes you may see in the world today, some people when they walk, they just want to attract attention. They just want others to see them. In the time of Jahiliyyah, they used to wear certain shoes, or they used to make certain noises when they would walk to stamp their feet. They told people, look at me. Look at who I am. I am so-and-so. I am this person. I am this. At-tafakhur. That they had that sense of arrogance and pride. And Rasulullah and the Ahlul Bayt remind us of the importance of removing any sort of arrogance and kibr within our hearts. That a true individual, a true muttaqi, is someone who has tawadu'. He's humble. And his humility is seen when he walks. When he walks, he's walking at a pace moderate, at a pace that he is seeing his own self, he is seeing his path. There were those that what they would do is they would beat out their chest to say, look, here I am this individual, and I am so-and-so, I am the son of so-and-so, I have got this, I've got these amount of, for example, land, I've got this farm, I've got this tafakhur. And he would want people to say, to look at them and boast about their arrogant position. This is where the Holy Prophet and the Imams would say, be careful about arrogance. ضع كبرك واذكر قبرك. Remove any form of arrogance within you and remember your own qabr. Mankind, who are we? We were one cell, and one day we were nothing. Allah bestowed upon us this hayat, this blessing, and one day we will turn into dust. We will be buried 6 feet under, whoever we are, whether we're pauper, whether we're from one nation or another, whether we are the prince or the prime minister or the president, we'll all go to the same qabr, 6 feet under. So the mesh, the walking, has been given a status that when you walk, be careful to never be arrogant in your walk. Remember, sometimes arrogance and pride can enter our hearts without us even realizing. That's why the narration states that arrogance and pride, kibr, can enter a heart like how a black ant walks and crawls over a black stone in the middle of the night. In the middle of the night. Meaning you have to be so careful within you that that pride and arrogance does not enter within you, so much so that you boast about your arrogance, tafakhur. That's why tawadu' is seen in the way we walk. The Holy Prophet was once walking past a group. He saw they were gathering, and they were gathering around one person who was doing foolish acts, silly acts. And he was doing acts to make them laugh. Sometimes you see it downtown, you see there are some individuals, they'll do some acts and make people laugh, and sometimes they give them some money. The Holy Prophet said, if you wish to know a person who is more sillier than this person, is the one, or more different to this person in the way this person is acting, is that individual who walks around with pride and arrogance. He walks around boasting about himself and just thinks about himself without thinking about others. And this has been mentioned, the importance of how we walk, a number of times in the Holy Quran. Luqman alayhi salam, who we learned so many lessons from his life, he reminds us, and he reminds his son in those beautiful maxims of advice between Luqman and his son. Ya bunay, la tushrik billah. O son, do not associate partners to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then he mentions about the importance of goodness and kindness towards one's parents. Then he mentions what? وَلَا تَمْشِي فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرَحًا. Then he also mentions وَقْصُدْ فِي مَشْيِكَ, that do not walk boastfully, arrogantly on this earth. Remember your qabr. Remember your grave. That's why we find that these 2 feet of ours, they shall bear witness on the day of judgment where we go and to what direction they take us. Our qalb, imamul badan, our heart is the central command of this body of ours. We need to be aware where we allow our various limbs to function. And one of them is our 2 feet. Where we allow our 2 feet to take us. That's why our beautiful words, the beautiful words of Risalatul Huquq, our beloved 4th Imam, he reminds us of the haqq of the feet, haqqul rajul, the rights of the feet upon us. He says, وَأَمَّا حَقُّ, and as for the rights of your 2 feet, فَأَنْ لَا تَمْشِي بِهِمَا إِلَى مَا لَا يَحِلُّ لَكَ, that you do not allow them, your 2 feet, to make you walk to somewhere which is not halal for you, not permissible for you. I need to see the steps that I take. Where do I take them? To which direction am I taking? Yes, we are recommended to walk, by the way. Recommended both in Islamic teachings to walk, regularly walk, and the doctors and those experts in healthcare would state it's highly recommended to regularly walk. Brisk walking, 30 minutes of walking is a good exercise, whether it's a day-to-day, whether it's every other day. And there are simple techniques to help you to improve and boost your own health by walking. Improves your cardiovascular system, improves, for example, your immune system, boosts your immune system, improves your health. For example, they state that, for example, if you are going to go to a local superstore, local market, when you park your car, park a bit further away so that you can walk a bit further, more steps. Or there are members of our community, what do? Is they have now an app that counts how many steps they've taken, how many meters, how many kilometers. This is good. Healthy walking, brisk walking, that one should walk, whether it's walking to the local mosque, whether it's walking to visit their friend, There are many recommended deeds by just walking. The walking that has been forbidden is that walk that you go to somewhere which is haram. That you know it's haram, a place which is haram, a makan which is haram. Make sure your 2 feet do not take you there. Of course, your 2 feet are not to blame. You are to blame. And on the day of judgment, the 2 feet shall bear witness that you made me walk to that place. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran says about the day of judgment. The day that others will bear witness. The earth shall bear witness. The limbs shall bear witness. The angels shall bear witness. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is fully aware of my actions. He states in chapter 36 verse 65, اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us that there would be a day that your limbs, your hands, your feet and others shall bear witness upon your actions. Where is it recommended for me to walk towards? 1, highly recommended for me for the sake of Allah to walk to the house of my friend, house of my brother, for the sake of Allah. We have many narrations that state that one who visits their friend for the sake of Allah, akhul mu'min, for the sake of Allah, there is a response from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Iyai zirt. It's as if you have done the visitation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's as if you have come to somewhere of holiness, of sanctity, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would say, Tibt. Congratulations upon you for this ziyarah. And walakal jannah. And you have the reward of Jannah. Why? Because I visited my brother fillah, my mu'min brother fillah, my dear friend for the sake of Allah. Or another hadith states, ما من مؤمن قضى لأخيه حاجة مشى لأخيه. And he walked to the house of his friend to help him just for the sake of Allah, to assist him, to advise him. إلا وكتب الله بكل خطوة. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for every step I took towards that person's house, so the further they live, the more the thawab, hasana, good deed. And وَمَحَى سَيِّئَةً, and removed a sin. And he raises daraja and maqam in Jannah. Why? Because I visited my friend. Mu'mineen, mu'minat, this is a good recommended hasana we should do. In the month of Ramadan and after the month of Ramadan, visit our friends. Inquire about them. How are you? My community members here, my beloved friends, how are you? I would like to just visit you. Now if you provide me some chai and some other means is beautiful. One another, being with each other, discussing with one another. All for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As Muslim friends, as dear ones, family members, visiting your neighbors, visiting your community members, asking about one another, inquiring about one another. If there is a death, for example, in the family, to go to them and say, عَظَّمَ اللَّهُ أُجُورَكُمْ. If they're not feeling well, to visit them, inquire about their health. Inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you sahha wa salama wa afiyah. And this is a good deed recommended from our Ahlul Bayt alayhim wassalam, that they would encourage this and they would perform this. On certain occasions, we find the Imams of the Ahlul Bayt, not only they would visit their family members, not only they would visit their friends, not only they would visit the neighborhood, but they would provide with sacks of wheat, sacks of food, or sacks of money at the door of the house of their neighborhood. In the midst of the night, the Imams would place those amenities, place those goods, and remember them and pray for them and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to provide them with the best of blessings and na'im. That's one place highly recommended to walk. Walk towards your friend's home. Walk towards your brother's home. Another place which is highly recommended, you get thawab just to take those 2 feet and move with it, is to walk to where? To walk for ziyarah. Whether it is the walking of the holy Hajj, the holy pilgrimage, highly recommended to perform the deeds with the steps taken. You find there are a number of imams who used to join the qafilah. They used to join the caravans in Hajj and they used to walk. Some mentioned that the imams, for example, the second imam used to walk on many occasions between the city of Medina to the city of Mecca performing the Hajj. Or the visitation of the imams of the Ahlul Bayt for the sake of Allah. And no doubt, one of the greatest deeds and thawab is to walk and take the steps to the visitation and ziyarah of none other than Aba Abdullah Hussein salawatullah wa salam alayhi. We have many ahadith that one who takes a step towards the ziyarah of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein. Many narrations mention about the greatness of the thawab, the ajr, the hasana, not only during the days of Arba'een, but throughout the year, to take some movement and take some steps towards with tawadu', with khushu', with humility, that we are coming for the sake of Allah to visit the one who is Aba Abdullah. Man ata qabr al-Husayn mashiyan katab Allah lahu bikulli khutwa alf hasana. For every step they take for the visitation of Aba Abdullah al-Husayn, 1,000 hasanat, 1,000 good deeds. Allah forgives them 1,000 sins. Allah raises their status in Jannah 1,000 times just by walking, taking a few steps. We've seen the photos and videos of maraji' ulama, elderly amongst us. They would insist, give me an opportunity to be of those who walk a few steps to our Mawla Aba Abdullah al-Hussein. Another place which is highly recommended and there is so much thawab to walk towards is a masjid. For the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to walk to a mosque, the place of worship and ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. من مشى إلى مسجد يطلب فيه الجماعة كان له بكل خطوة 70,000 حسنة. For every step you take towards that masjid, again, if you find the masjid you're going to visit and you've got your car, you're driving from here to there, park a bit further away so you take some more thawab. 70,000 hasanat and ajr. 70,000 sins removed and forgiven. 70,000 raised in your status. Angels, 70,000 angels will bless that individual. Now, don't look at the quantity, look at the quality of this great deed. That you walk for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You walk to your friend's home. You walk to the ziyarah. You walk to the masjid. You walk to those places that you can assist and aid. Why? Because you're walking the walk of a muttaqi, a person who is full of taqwa, a walk which is what? With his 2 feet is full of humility and tawadu. A walk that you stamp on the haram, place that feet on the haram, and the next walk, the next steps you're taking towards Jannah, towards the gateway of Jannah. Look at the great companion or the great members who loved their Imam. One example that we can mention together tonight is the one who loved his Imam. But he wasn't there on the day of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein, on the day of Ashura. He came towards Karbala near the days of Arba'een of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein. He asked his companion Atiyah, I'm going to do the purification the tahara of this river, the river of Furat, and I'm going to ask you to take steps that we can take steps towards Habibi wa Sayyidi wa Mawlaya. Who was it? None other than Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari. Jabir, he couldn't see much during his late years in his life. So he would ask Atiyah, you direct me and let my 2 feet take the steps towards the qabr of Sayyidi wa Mawlaya. Now, the beautiful thing is, how did he know where is the qabr of Abu Abdullah al-Husayn? He wasn't there on the day of Abu Abdullah. Atiyah would place some turab and he would bring it closer towards Jabir. Jabir would say, no, it's not here. He would say, let's walk, let's walk, let's walk. Until he places some turab towards Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari. Jabir falls onto the qabr of Abu Abdullah al-Husayn. He says, here it is. This is the grave of Sayyidi wa Mawlai Abu Abdullah al-Husayn. He says, Assalamu alayka ya Abu Abdullah. Peace and blessings, greetings to you, Abu Abdullah al-Husayn. Habibun la yujibu Habiba. Is it possible that a beloved does not respond to his beloved Habib? Then he says, I know why. The reason is why. Al-jismu minhu bi Karbala. والرأس على القناة يدار